got it. Okay, we are
Getting there.
50% there.
Start.
Okay, we are there. All right, you're good to go. Smart.
Okay, you're ready.
Okay,
We're ready.
call to order, roll call, Jeremy, President, Mark, here, Kim,
Here.
Lori,
Here.
Peg,
Here.
Dorley.
Yep.
Jill,
Here.
pledge of allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Adjustments to the agenda.
I got to talk about it, but you can hear me, right?
What?
We're making adjustments to the agenda, you need to be able to hear me, right?
I'm sorry. It kind of blocks the sound. Okay. Got it.
So in 30.2, I did not vote yes. I abstained from voting in that vote. So if you could fix that, that would be great. In number 70, well, I guess this isn't a correction. It says that Worley will stand the current lease agreement and send it. Did I miss that or did you not?
I haven't sent it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I did. And the only other question I had was in 50, it said that Tara asked about the school district helping financial with the repairs, but then it was added, no, they do not, but that isn't exactly what Worley said, so I'm not sure the answers should be in the minutes until we have.
Yeah,
in this way.
Well, that was her exact words. I mean, no, they do not. Why wouldn't that go in the minutes? I'm sorry.
Well, in the previous meeting, she said that over a certain amount, the repairs are helped with or covered by the school board. So
Right.
it just contradicts the other information. So that's all. And we're working on the new agreement. So
Okay,
but
the minutes were a reflection of what was said.
okay.
I mean, it's up to you guys, but
Well, then maybe
I'm
you
doing
clarify-
minutes of what,
Maybe
was
clarify
said.
that she said it. Laura Lee said, no, they were not.
okay, all right, I sure will.
All right. That's what I had.
Well, I move that with, the adjustments Kim brought up that we will, I move that we approve the minutes.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion second to approve minutes. Updated, all in favor? Okay. 20.0, consent calendar. Motion. 30.0, unfinished business, 30.1. School renovation fundraising update. Lori.
We had a really great fun meeting Friday.
Fund or funds?
Fun, what did I say? Fun
You
meeting?
said
fun
fun.
meeting?
I think it's a fun meeting.
Fun raising meeting. Altogether, 7 of us, we had somebody on Zoom and everybody else was here and now this was the previous meeting, we had 3 of us. So we talked again about with each member, each volunteer, about their strengths and stuff and what they might do. So I have some ideas. We have some ideas of where people might want to volunteer, but we can't quite flesh that out until we know what our, what are our events, not just events. What are we doing? So I want to show you this. Let me see if I can do it.
Did that meeting get posted on YouTube? We watch it there or no?
It was recorded on Zoom.
On Zoom?
Yeah, who did it, so they report. So my friend, at the graphics place sent us, well, she sent several, versions of 2 slogans. We've come down to 2 slogans. One is about donations, and the other is simply publicize the pool, so that the community is aware of the pool. We did, now these are preliminary. So, you know, one thing we're gonna do is go back with, you know, put our website under here. We'll make, you know, a couple changes. QR code will definitely go in to the paper print, the flyers and the posters that set the postcard to me. But also there was quite a feeling of just going ahead and putting the QR code in our signs. We can do that too. So this was selected as the donor one. We're gonna take out dive in, save our pool, donate, keep it simple. I thought, I have to go check my notes. Okay, we're undecided. We're keeping the verbiage. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, sorry. And I'm glad you're here to help me. Then the other one we liked was this one. Yes, Mary.
Oh, no.
No, I-
Oh, yeah. Live long and swim. That just resonated with a lot of people. So again, I say these are preliminary. So we want to get, for the website, what I've found out from special districts is that there is a way right now that we could allow for online donation. We don't have the operation in place for online everything, payments and registering, but we can legally use a PayPal government account and provide a link on our fundraising page on the pool website, and therefore the links that we'll put on the signs will lead directly to the money page, the donate.
We do not
No.
have a PayPal.
Not yet.
We have information on the website that you can call here, we'll take your credit cards. Or you
May
can
I just make a
send
comment about that top line?
money.
About the,
Yes.
yeah,
And I can see it say swim and live long,
we
instead of live long and swim, swim and live long. So just the ties headline.
okay, yes. Now, when I'm talking about, one of the first things that we've really undertaken that I've made phone calls is yard signs. So, there was a general feeling that we have people at the pool who will want to put our yard signs out. And we want to promote that. The cost for the getting 100, which is the number we wanted to start with, is just a little under $300. So we have just a fraction of a budget for that right now, don't we? Well, it won't be in, well, it'll be in the fiscal year. Anyway, that's, you know, some of these things aren't complete. I don't have all the answers, so I want to talk with Lori some more about that. Anyway, that's the direction of that. Everybody that was there came away with some homework to do. Mine was to straighten out my notes. well, among other things. One of our members, gave a great presentation about a plan that had been kicked around and pre-formulated by this group of cool friends. And they're calling it, initially calling it Lapalooza, and Robert, made it kind of cute by calling it Lapalooza. Now, I know that it conflicts with the name the swim team is doing a fundraiser too, similar, but in that event, we bring people to the pool to swim laps, sponsor laps, swim or walk or warm pool laps. So it's every kind of ability and everybody welcome. So, this is still being developed, but we're getting a good grip on it. And then our scheduling for that will target probably April. And part of that reason is that the swim team is doing a swim palooza in January, right? I think so too. So
No, they just did one.
oh,
The club team just did one.
And
last
this one, they made $2,600.
We have a lot of other ideas. We have lists of merchants that we want to visit. I would like to outreach to start involving swim club in that if we're gonna do a lap event or any pool event. I've heard some great ideas about what we could just do throughout the year using the pool. You know, borrow it for a couple hours and come in and bring people in, advertise it, charge, give them donuts, and so where was I going with it? Get these events fleshed out and start bringing in, we know it's not large amounts, but couple that with the visits and the advertising in the ahead of us, we may want to do t-shirts, because that's real popular, but that's everything that like that, even the events entails some expense for us to bring back some money. Now, earlier today, I had a meeting at, I can talk about that, right? No.
Well,
Had a meeting.
we met with Larry Mullins. And he gave some ideas, and there's, you know, we're working on reaching out to some other possible benefactors.
Organizations, and so they're not willing to speak publicly yet. That's why I hesitated. And it's only the beginning of this meeting. It brings on a network of other visits that I'm gonna need to make a calendar for trying to cover all this territory. Now, still in the end, it is my personal feeling that we're gonna do a great job with raising funds. But will we raise $1 million in time? Will we raise $1 million in time to just refurbish the pool, which it needs right quick? This fundraising I see will take it would take a long time, at least a year or two. Well, I don't think that the pool, I think it's gambling with the issues with the pool and the age of the pool. So I do feel that besides our fundraising, we are going to look at, or I would like us to consider at some point, maybe next year, a bond measure, a small one. A loan is something we can't afford for a couple of years. And anyway, if we went out for a bond measure for a smaller amount than we've asked in the past, on our own, we could put our money together with community help and reach a goal and fix what we can right now and buy this pool 10 more years. And that's my personal thought. It's not what our committee discussed or I discussed with anybody. So I'm just throwing that out there. I want to plant a seed, basically. So there were a lot of other things, but that's details.
Okay, so we talked about $1 million. It's gonna take more than this.
Yes.
So my question is, why not go for a bond measure for the grant? And then the other $500,000 that we need, we could use this fundraising money. Because it's
I
gonna be at
getcha.
least $1.25 million
Yeah.
or $1.5 million to do what we want to do. So just to throw that out.
Yes, I think that's worth considering as we move forward. But I want to say again that I felt so positive. With each meeting, I feel a lot more excited because we have a really great group of helpers and experience. The experience each person brings makes us a strong group. Okay, that's my speech.
So just to add on to that, just so the history and the reality of the situation, was anyone here when Gus was doing the pool expansion project? So we had the bracelets, and so that was quite a ordeal. I mean, a lot of time and effort went into that. And what was the end result? 90,000?
90,000, yes.
That took how long?
I don't know.
And that was,
How long did that take?
I'm not sure how
well, I mean,
was it.
So that was a
Well,
3 years.
it was about 3 years. Well, the problem with that, from my opinion, is Gus came up with this plan and called it the pool expansion project. And then he formulated this great idea and had these plans to do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And, and it was great. And then he literally retired the very next year. And then Scott came in as a new director. And of course, he's trying to get his feet under him as a new director. And then he was only here a year, that, and then I became director. And and different board members at the time were like, well, what are you gonna do about PEP? And I'm just like, I have no idea about what to do about PEP. Because it's like, Gus just came up with this really great idea, but then left. So then, it was an idea in just an idea. Yes, they did spend a little bit of money. They had like a video, commercial thing. Yeah, they had some bracelets and stuff, but and they did have that 90,000, but it just never went, it never had legs, basically. It never had legs.
Saying for what we're doing in the city of Lebanon and going out and trying to do this is all good stuff, but just with the history of it, whenever that was, a decade ago, 7 years.
Well,
Yes.
but I'm saying, I think we're in a much better position
Right.
than we were back then, because, they didn't even have, they just had a great idea, and that's all.
So the great idea turned out into, for $90,000.
Which is still there.
Yeah, we still have the money.
Oh, yeah.
Money is still there.
So,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
just-
just
Right,
something that we can build upon.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good, thank you, good job. So, moving on, 30.2, resolution to adopt public contract rules, or,
Okay, so basically I took the resolution that you guys passed last meeting. And I made it so it's legible and everybody can see it.
Wait a minute, we didn't pass it last meeting, we tabled it to get the update.
Is that the one that we asked Lori to go back to the lawyer and clean up?
Yeah, we tabled it.
Okay, all right,
Criminals.
here is with the.
With the update.
Yes, I mean, basically it was what Eileen had said. And I accepted her edits. And then the part in there about the director has, you know, because there was debate about, well, should it be 1,000, what should it be? And basically there's language in there that I can, in an emergency situation, approve the contract. And then that language is already in there. And then basically in any in buying stuff for the pool, we can, with 3 informal bids, we can buy stuff up to 25,000.
But we talked about adding the consumables part that you didn't have, there's nothing hindering buying everyday consumable products.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't put that language per se in there because, I mean, reading it, that to me is what that means. I mean, if we're talking about public contracts, I mean, it's really more in hiring consultants or hiring contractors and architects, and so.
At first glance, I really like it, I mean, formatting, everything like that looks good. I'm wondering if for proprietary purposes, you need to have you send this to us, so we can have
I can do that.
time to review it, and then I suppose everybody's sitting here for like some 15 minutes, reading it, so we can pretend like we actually know what we're talking about before we vote or something like Congress does. We don't know they do it, but we don't want to do it. Well, I like the look of it, it looks very nice.
I can do that.
okay, so we're gonna table this one more time, and we will all get a information only email with this end up in the folder for.
Yes, or I can hand you this. copy.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Or you know,
I can print off more.
that'd be great, or you know, I don't think.
So if you prefer.
Do you want
No,
a
email
PDF
fine
or
with
do
me,
you want-
Yes, fine.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm not fine with it.
If you want physical, you say you want physical.
And did you get a form?
Email.
No, I just want to know.
Oh, what we're talking about, the contracting rule.
There-
For hiring
There,
contracting.
there was old resolution that we had from 2007. And it needed to be updated for public contract.
So to be clear, you're gonna table it and review it, the board will review it and bring it back to the table in the January meeting.
Yes. Yes, we are one step closer to that. Okay, 30.3 boiler update.
Okay, so I do have 3 copies of, from HR Mechanical.
Oh, once you guys put it on the side.
Oh, you have one right there, okay.
Oh, maybe that's mine.
Well, here.
Okay, so, if you guys recall, the boiler is right in that room there. And it's this big giant gas heater, but because has so much power and puts out so much BTUs, then even though it looks very similar to like a furnace that we have in our houses, it is a boiler. And it's a condensing boiler, and boilers typically only last 10 to 15 years. But this one is like 13 years. And it's always given us fits, and it's always problematic, and we only have one. And so of course, when it goes down, it's, you know, we don't have heat, and within the summertime, it's not that big a deal. Anyway, so I reached out to 3 different contracting companies to come and just give a look, see, check it out, tell me what they thought, you know, is this thing really on its last leg? Can we just fix it and get another several years out of it, or do we need to replace it? And, HR Mechanical, we have used them to do some repairs around here before. And so they came in and gave us a bid, essentially, for work. And then, another company, NCC, they're out of Portland, they came down. And we've used NCC in the past before for stuff. They're very reputable. And they gave us a bid. And then, the third company came and looked at it. They're out of Springfield, and then they tell Jim at the last minute, like, well, actually, we just work on them, we don't do installs. And it was clear that we were asking them to come down because we wanted them to look at it and see if we needed a new one, and if so, could they give us a bid for a new one? And so anyways, I was a little discouraged over that, but so I got two good quotes, basically. And so HR Mechanical has option 1, option 2, and option 3 for us to consider. And then the prices on toward the last of the page. So option 1 is basically replacing what we have now with exactly the same thing that we have. I mean, just not a used 13-year-old boiler, but we have an Aeroco boiler and we'd be replacing it with like a newer Aeroco boiler. Okay, and that bid is $89,762. Now, also, there is some extra costs once we get it put in. We'll have to have somebody train our staff, basically Jim and myself, on how to, you know, work it or control it or whatever. And, you know, they call that commissioning, basically. And so that is separate, but you're not talking, you know, thousands and thousands to do that. I mean, my guess is it's somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe several hundred to, I don't know, maybe 1,500 or 1,000.
If it's exactly the same, what are they training on? I'm curious.
Well, good
Or is it
question, but
modern?
basically, you know, even with this boiler that we have, the Airco, they're gonna have newer technology in it, they're gonna have, you know, different user interface. I mean, it is gonna be different, even though it is still an Airco, you know. Okay, so then option 2 is a different, okay, yeah, it's Riello, I think. Now, that thing, that's just one boiler, okay? But it's actually out of Italy, but it's a really good, it's a good boiler. Okay, so that's that option. And then option 3, now, honestly, the prices are all very similar, okay? Option 3 is 2 Lochinvar boilers. So right now we have 1, and option 2 is just 1 boiler. But the nice thing about option 3 is they basically install 2 smaller Lochinvar boilers. And then when you're servicing 1, you are still up and going because you have it does heat. And then if one conks out or something has a problem, then you basically have the other one.
And there's room for 2 of them in there.
Yes, yes.
Is that a brand name or
It's a brand name, yeah.
Is
and-
that the HR Mechanical one?
Yeah.
Okay.
HR, well, HR Mechanical is basically giving me these 3 options for you guys
Oh,
to
gotcha.
consider. But the Albany Pool uses Lochinvar boilers. They have 4, and they really like them.
What are they
And
called, locked in?
That's just the brand,
Oh,
like
I get-
Carrier
I get it.
Furnace
Okay.
or Train or
Oh,
something.
sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure I didn't ask, but I mean, they're probably German or, I mean, oh, yeah, Lochinvar. A lot of these big high-tech boilers and things, they are not made in the US. I mean, that's part of the problem, why it's hard to get parts for these things. And then when you do find parts, they're coming clear across like the United States or somewhere. Or they're like Sweet Home replaced their boiler, well, they repaired it and they had to get parts like out of Canada. And it literally took them months to get these parts. But anyway, so now right now, knock on wood, or press wood, whatever, it's working, it seems to be holding. And so, and I did talk to our auditor, Corey, which they're wrapped up our audit for 23. And so while I was on the phone talking about the audit, I asked her about this. And she said that we absolutely can do a sole source procurement. If we, like, if the thing conked out tomorrow and we're like, oh goodness, we gotta get the new boiler in now, then, you know, we can do a sole source procurement. And if we wanna do that, and then of course it would involve us moving some money around, because, you know, I don't have, you know, $90,000, just sitting in our, you know, our maintenance bucket. But we have money in contingency, there's, you know, there's some money in the reserve fund, obviously, that we could do that. And so personally, if we wanna go that route, I would like to wait and go and see if we could go and put it in spring break, because that would be a good time, because there's not, I mean, high school swimming is over with, the swim team takes a break during that week. You kids are all gone, you know, for spring break, so that would be a good week. Now, if we go with the Aeroco boiler, that would be the easiest install, because literally everything is plug and play, right? Now, these other options are gonna require some more reconfiguring and changing pipes around here. And I do not have my keys, but here, let me grab my keys real quick, because I want you guys
have keys.
to, well, here, mine are just sitting around in this, speaking. We'll pick, I want you guys to see that.
I like that, people boilers.
Redundancy is nice.
Okay. Part of the problem with our current boilers, Part of-
Which one's best, there's all the same price.
They sure are.
Does the, which is saying if the person's plug and play, and the other one requires wiring type changes, so.
this thing leaks really bad. And that's what I wanted you guys to
Is this our
do.
boiler?
So there's always this puddle under there,
That's a.
and
The boiler
when
is-
it rains, that puddle is a lot
It's really
more.
It's coming out of the.
Yeah,
Well, no, there's a problem with the flue.
Oh,
The flue, so,
that's right, you said they put it on wrong.
yeah, they put it on
It's
wrong,
straight.
and then anyway, so, my worry, if we go with swap out and do the Aeroco, and they just plug a new Aeroco in there, we're not gonna solve the flue problem. And so then if we did the two boilers, then I think we'd have two smaller stacks, or maybe one, but basically that leaking problem has got to get fixed.
The blue has to be fixed.
Right.
Did you say that there's gonna be, did you say there was gonna be additional cost for pipe configuration with the two boilers?
There, well, that's included in that. The additional cost is gonna be the commissioning of it,
Right.
because that's separate in their bid.
But the pipe reconfiguration in the second and third one are included.
I'm pretty sure, I mean, when I read it, I mean, cause they know that's a problem, and believe it or not, we have tried fixing that. Cause I had NCC a couple of years ago, they tried, fixing it. Because part of the problem initially, when it started leaking, it wasn't that bad, right? And they said it's just condensation. So then they tried to, I don't know what they did, I don't remember, but they tried to change it so that it wasn't condensation. Well, that is way more than condensation. And then, of course, when it rains, it's a bigger puddle. You know, we haven't had rain for a couple days, really, I mean, good rain, so it's drier in there, but the other day, it was just a lake in there. You know, and then here you've got, you know, people, you're standing in that water, you know, trying to, you know, throw switches and like turn the VFD on and off when we have a power failure, it's like, it's crazy, so, I mean, you know, and the thing about having the two boilers, like when he first was telling me about these two locker car boilers, you know, right away I was like, oh, you know, two boilers, that's just two things to go out instead of one, right? And I was afraid that it was gonna be very cost prohibitive. But then when the bids came in, it was like, oh, I mean, the two boiler option is actually a really decent option. And I called and talked to my, you know, my colleague at Albany Pool, and he's like, well, we love them. I mean, we haven't had a problem with ours.
So he has the two configuration.
The lock and bar boilers, they have 4 of them.
Oh, yeah.
They have 4. Well, their facility is like 2.5 times my size.
What's the capacity of each individual boiler compared to what we currently have and how much of our current capacity do we use?
So I have all of the specs for these, like I could send them to you and you could look at it. But I just know, like, in all the conversations I've had with them, like this boiler is old, right? It's,
Could we actually run off one of the boilers and not two?
well, yes, so what he explained to me is these 2 boilers, and maybe Chris, you could help me out, cause you're gonna, like, so basically what he said is you have one will come on and maybe get the building up to 10 in the morning and the other one's just hanging out, like it's not even on. And then that first one that comes on for say 2 hours, then the other one comes on for like 2 more hours. And they
Oh.
equally load share. And he said the beauty of that is that it's not like you're just running boiler A like day after day after day and then you have B. He says they equally wear out at the same time. But the nice thing is that when you plan your maintenance, you just work on one day or one half the day, so you're never out of power. I mean, you're never out of, you're still
But
able.
one's enough to keep the pool warm.
Mhm, yeah, and he said it'd be a lot more energy efficient, because this thing is old. And so it's, like, right now, if we looked at it again, my guess is it's probably on like, I mean, it has to routinely heat almost up to its limit, like, most of the time. Which I wanna say it's like 140 or 150, I mean, we could go more than that, but it's not good to run it, and like red line it all the time. Whereas these, because they're way more energy efficient and they cycle together off and on, that he said you'd notice a huge difference.
It probably would last twice as long, but I bet, 1.5 times as long.
Right.
I believe on initial heat up, they both kick in, so it brings the heat up. And then after that, they alternate on maintenance. And so they go back and forth on the maintenance of and if you have a really cold day, then they'll both
Yeah,
kick
right.
in, just so they have some overlap time. But they try to they run them so that you're getting the same hours on each one.
right.
How long ago did Albany switch over to that?
I mean, a while ago, I know that, like, cause they're with GAPS, the Greater Albany Public School. And, it didn't cost them as much, cause they have HVAC journeyman, on their payroll. And so they just have their own crew change them out, basically. We have to hire that stuff out.
What was the other bid?
The other bid was a totally different name brand, it was not an Aeroco, and it was 95,000. So, but it was a single boiler, so probably very similar to our option two, the yellow.
So the benefit of having them is there are community.
That is one of the benefits, yes. And so anyways, we can still think about this. Cause I'd love to be able to plan this for the next fiscal year. But again, if the thing decides to really calm, or we have a bigger leak, then we're gonna have to fix it probably before July. Oh, and I was gonna say too, is that it's gonna be a 2-week install if we do anything other than just swapping out an Aeroco for an Aeroco. That is a 1-week shutdown, but if we do the other, because it's gonna involve changing the flue more and changing piping and configuration, that's gonna be a 2-week shutdown.
How much notice do they need?
Oh, to get the best deal, I would need to sign the bid right away, because then that locks in the price.
Yes, like if it did go out right now, and you said, hey, we need to do this.
Right,
when-
well,
when you start a
well,
week out, 2 weeks out.
at least probably, because they're probably all on other jobs. And then too, they gotta order these boilers, okay? So, and the other option, when I talked to the auditor, she said that this is very common, another thing that we could do to cut costs, because anything over 50,000, then we have to pay prevailing wage, which then the contractors, that's why some of the bids are higher. Well, if we decided that we wanted to buy those 2 lock and bar boilers, then what Hans suggested we do, and I ran it through the account, or the auditor, she said this is fine. Is that LAD buys the boilers, so we go through Hans and we're like, we wanna buy those 2 boilers. And so then they buy them and, and then they're giving us just the bid on the labor install. So, and then it's 2 pieces, and then we're probably,
That's something where we could sign the contract now and then wait to apply to the fiscal year. So we can place it.
I bet we could, he probably would love it.
So with all these exclusions at the bottom, did they explain to me these are gonna be needed? This would be extra cost.
What do you mean extra?
There's a huge list of exclusions underneath the prices.
Right, well, I mean, yeah, that's real standard on all their stuff that we get from them. But mostly, I mean. Yeah, I can verify with him, but usually like, we always work really well with HR Mechanical and plan exactly when we're gonna do it, so they're not charging us overtime or. If we did break down like unexpectedly, and then we're, really chomping at the bit to try and get it replaced. Because we're, losing revenue or we've got patrons that are like, oh, we want to spend it. Then that might affect it, but.
On the 2 bids, I understand that $5,000 difference. Did we also compare how long the car would last? Like, did one of them last an extra 10 years when the first one?
That's a good question. I even talked to, the head maintenance guy at the high school too, their director of maintenance. And he basically said, he's like, anymore, these boilers, no matter which one you buy, they're lasting, 10 to 15 years. So I don't think any one of these, like, is gonna last us 20. I mean, sadly.
Well, having the dual boilers, they take turns. The wear and tear on one is not going to be as great as if you only have one boiler.
Right.
So would you think that those 2 boilers would last longer than 10 years?
I mean, maybe, I would think so, I mean, probably. The other thing too, I forgot to mention this, I reached out to, Oregon Energy Trust. And because they, love to give incentive and it's almost like grant money to do upgrades of your systems. And we've gotten Oregon Energy Trust money on projects before. And so anyways, I reached out to them, I filled out their paperwork and stuff, I sent them utility bills from the high school of ours. And of course, it's Christmas and stuff, so I haven't heard anything back, but they really think that they'll do their analysis and then they'll give us money toward this boiler project. Now, it's not gonna be like $30,000, $40,000, it's not gonna be like half the project, but maybe it'll be a quarter of the project, or maybe it'll be a big chunk. But getting a newer boiler is gonna make it more efficient. And then they look at that efficiency and then they look at that over that 10 or 15 years of expected life, and they're like, wow, you're gonna save so much money in the long run, it's gonna be like getting it for free. And the more we can show that a new boiler is gonna be so much more energy efficient, then the higher the incentive is. So that's the other piece of this, that.
I would love to see that when you have those numbers, our current gas bill expected versus projected from gas bill.
Yeah.
I don't think it really changes my mind on what to go with that.
Yeah, well, and I'll get all that from the Oregon Energy Trust. So, and they know that I told her when I talked to her on the phone a couple weeks ago, I told her that the thing is on its last leg. And so she was gonna try and expedite the process. Of course, it's Christmas, so, I imagine right after the first of the year, we'll probably have them coming back with like an approval. Cause they have firms that basically analyze that and they'll say, oh, we, given that what you're spending now, we think you're gonna, realize this much difference, so.
Okay, Laura Lee, so what I'm going to say is, I mean, we can't do anything about this now. So I'm going to say that in January, we will revisit this with more information about, like Jeremy asked about the gas bill, et cetera, and get it fine tuned so that we can make a decision on
Why can't we do anything about it right now?
it. Well, I thought you wanted to see what the gas.
Oh, I'd love to see it, but I don't think it's not gonna affect going forward, that's just something I would like to see.
Oh, well,
We need a new boiler either way.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think the having the two boilers, I'm kind of sold on that plan myself, just because I really thought it was gonna be a lot more money than it was, and
well, Chris is the engineer. What do you say, Chris?
I'm an electrical engineer, not an HVAC.
Well, I know, but you have a lot more knowledge about those kinds of things than any of us. So what would your recommendation be?
To me, redundancy is a great thing to have, and if it's not costing you more, and if you're sharing the load between two
Right.
boilers, maybe you extend the life out and get
That's
15
exactly
years
what I was thinking.
instead of 10 years like we got out of this one.
Maybe 15 or.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's where my logic goes, but that's just logic, that's not professionally based.
Well, and one could last longer than that, so
Yeah.
we'd only have to.
Replace one at a time, yeah. I really like the option.
Replace it
And-
at half the cost.
And Jim did, I swear, Jim asked Hans, if we down the road, like say in the next couple of years, we like, you know, added on a little bit or something. You know, cause originally we thought we'd, you know, make the pool into an 8-lane pool and bump out a little bit. And he said, would these new boilers, you know, if we increased our square footage by another, you know, couple thousand or whatever, would those still do it? And they thought for sure it would still be enough.
Well, even if they weren't, the system's a big chain system, so in theory, you
Yeah.
got one boiler.
It's
Right.
exactly,
Right, we could put one in the other addition or something.
Right.
So,
So what do you say? What are you thinking, Jeremy?
I like option three, the new boiler, this seems like the highest priority project. I think we should start moving forward with it and just jury the number, not jury, but
right,
do accounting tricks to get them in the correct year at the correct price.
So are you ready for a motion, Mark?
Well, I guess the first question, what do we need in order to move forward? It sounds like we need
Well,
some pretty specific steps to move forward.
if you guys agree that option 3 is the one that we wanna go with, then I think he's just sent this to me, and I think it says in here, we have 30 days. And I mean, it hasn't been 30 days, I even have, so this price still should be good. And the other thing that we could do, especially since, you know, we really need to wait until spring. I mean, we could not close down for 2 weeks, really, because we're in the middle of high school swimming.
I assume we give it a sign and we'll just schedule in the future.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, even if we wanted to give him a big chunk, like as a down payment, you know, cause you know, they gotta purchase the stuff ahead of time sometimes. I'm sure we could work something out.
So but how much does it say this if we do the option of us purchasing the?
That's what I definitely need to.
Okay.
ask.
Still need to get that. I think I still agree that it's great if we can save that, but I don't think it warrants putting off the decision.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
And it sounds like this is kind of gonna be close to our max. We might go over a little bit, but this is.
Well,
Any alterations are likely to lower.
right, and if the energy
Right.
trust money comes, that lowers it also.
Right.
And so that is helpful.
See, and that's the other thing is like, we could sign this contract and give it to Hans and say, we are going to buy this and have you do it. But also, I think we can't purchase anything technically until we get the approval from Oregon Energy Trust. So,
I
but
think that's
we
true.
could get this all lined up and, you know what I mean, with Hans.
Just let them know the flow of paper.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're used to work.
yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward on that third option.
Pursue it.
Yeah,
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on option number 3 to get it started. All in favor?
yes, that's great. Thank you guys very much.
We don't have nothing if we don't have a boiler.
Cool.
I have to tell you, just as an aside, my son is the coach of Astoria, his kids were dying in our pool because it's so
It's
hot.
too warm.
They keep their pool at 77 degrees.
My.
I said, we close our pool down at 78. I can't even imagine being in there every day at
All
77.
we do is advertise it as that cold water shower that you're playing on Facebook.
Oh my God, I've done a whole plunge.
Racing, 79.
Racing.
Well-
Temperature 79.
Yeah, I mean, 80, and we had turned the heat down for meets, but I just didn't think about it. I mean, otherwise, we probably would have, but
Well, they were all dying anyway.
yeah.
They got out, Paul introduced me to a bunch of his kids and he came up, oh my God, that pool is so hot. Wow.
They weren't even in the warm one.
Oh, no.
Okay, moving on.
Relatives.
So that was a unanimous vote.
Yes,
Okay.
40, new business. 40.1, directory evaluation document. All right.
Well, I've passed it out, we do have copies, do you want a copy?
Sure, why not? You know, I did not think I was gonna get the ability, but I
Um,
I gave them up.
yes, you did, Mark, you did. I think you're welcome to look at it if you're interested. So I've worked on this since the last meeting, or maybe, yes, the last meeting we talked about having one. So I researched, I looked on the SDAO website, they have a form. And I looked at a number of things. I looked at, nonprofit evaluations. Now, I know we're a profit. But it was a lot more, comprehensive, extensive, and applied to things of, toward your job. So, before we can do the evaluation using this tool, we need to review it by the whole board. So here it is, and I think you've all received it ahead of time, and so open to discussion.
Well, I really liked it. It made me think about certain areas which I thought was really good. I do think that we should discuss it in the executive session, use this as kind of like our base, to have our conversations. But yeah, I really like it.
I did have one error. Just
Like the language
I-
you did it.
one of the lines was duplicated, because I was moving it from one, so I thought, this doesn't belong here, it belongs to anyway. So now, you know, we'll just. Okay,
Okay, 40.2, holiday closure dates.
Do we need to vote on that form?
that's what I was told,
Oh, we do need to vote
yes.
Instead of making it official for Tuesday.
on. Okay,
Okay. I move that we accept this form as part of our evaluation system.
all in favor?
I,
Good.
Thank you.
and thank you for all your hard work. I mean, that couldn't have been easy.
Okay, so, we're just gonna close on Christmas Day, New Year's Day. We are closed, which those days are on Mondays, which we normally are closed on Sundays anyway, so Christmas Eve.
It's easy this year.
Yeah. Yep, so that is our holiday closure.
Okay, I didn't receive any audience requests. Okay, 60, director's report, 60.1, November finance.
Okay, so, I printed off the balance sheet and then the budget, general fund, profit and loss. So, on the balance sheet, you can see that we have gotten some more property tax money in, so that's nice. And that's, I know you don't have last year's balance sheet, but I looked at last year's balance sheet And our total assets last year was $753,000. And this year it's 785,000 and change. So we were ahead of what we were last year. Mainly because we have more property tax.
22 line.
I can send that out to you as.
Okay, oh, thank you.
We got something from Tina, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. I reviewed it.
I just happened that all those were supposed to go together, so you could see. Oh, that's from last year. So. now I-
Anyway, so that, I mean, so the balance sheet basically just shows that the money market, which by the way, well, I'm gonna get to that, but, yeah, we've got healthy balances, and that pet fund of, years ago, that was just 90,000. Well, that money that we've raised and have put in there, it's, it's definitely building. And then, of
There's
course,
$51,000.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Really?
in there. So that's the balance sheet, and then moving on to the general fund, this basically shows
Quick
that,
question, Lily.
sure,
The pet fund and reserve fund, those are two funds for, pool improvement? Are both those for pool improvement?
so the pet fund is considered restricted
Yeah,
net
But if
assets.
we were to rebuild the pool, if we build this project, we have those.
Mhm,
that's
yeah.
what it's for.
They're only to be used for pool expansion or pool, adding on. Now, the reserve fund is not restricted. So like, for instance, the boiler conks out, or we gotta replace a roof, or, we can put that money toward the pool expansion if we don't need it for something else, but, yeah. Yep, and so now the general fund, the property tax, our current property tax, now we've gotten more money in for December, but, we're at 461,000 and change. So we only need 138,000. We've gotten more in for December, so actually what was it, like, I think we're only like 80-some thousand
Yeah,
away,
80 something.
like 82 or 84,000 away from our goal. Yeah, so that's really good. And then, our revenues for November start to kind of trickle down in December because, the holidays. And we no longer have swimming lessons, so you will see that, that's like just a normal dip. And so if you look at the second page where it says total programs, like for November, we brought in $10,800 and change. Well, last month, if I remember right, it was like 15 or 16,000 that we brought in. But again, that's just normal, for November and December, and then, then things will tick back up. And then, of course, if you look at the expenses, the audit, this 2,500 for the audit, like the middle of the page, that was just a part of the audit. That's not the total audit fee. It is gonna be, I think it's gonna be over 6,000. So it's like you pay like a down payment on the audit, and then the second payment will come in. And then, let's see. If you look at the next page, under maintenance building, we've spent a lot of money since July on just maintenance and stuff. I mean, well, a lot of this boiler stuff. And then here a couple weeks ago, the roof was leaking on the south side, kind of right above like where the basketball hoops are. And of course it was raining that day, and so I'm like, well, there's gotta be a clogged roof man or something. So we got a staff member to go up, that's not afraid of heights, up onto the high roof, which is like 30 feet up there. It's up there. I don't mind getting up on the low roof, which is this roof, but that roof, it's like, oh, I don't make enough money for that. Anyway, so I got a staff member to go up there, and sure enough, he saw that this roof drain was like all full of leaves and stuff, and so he fixed it, and then immediately all the water, went in the little hole. And so, great, thought it was fixed. Well, then a couple days later, it's raining again, and it's leaking, and so we're like, what? And so he went back up there and looked, and it looked like somebody had, there was a hole, and somebody had patched it with red duct tape. What? Seriously, and this red duct tape had been up there baking in the sun for years, and was now starting to disintegrate, and now we've got this hole. And he took a picture of it, and he's like, well, here's your problem, and I'm like, what on earth? And he's like, who did that? And I'm like, I have no idea, because I don't go up there. And Jim's like, I wouldn't go up there. And so, I don't know, so the nearest we can tell is the original people that redid the roof, because we replaced that roof like right shortly after I became director, so 2014. We replaced that roof, and I think that the contractors somehow made a hole and they patched it with this red duct tape. And here we are, you know, like 7, 8 years later, well, 9 years later, now it's leaking. So we, of course, they're out of business, this company. And so, and of course, right? And so we reached out to Stutzman and Krupp, roofing contractors. And he's like, I'll come right out and fix it. Like, we called him on a Friday, he was here on Monday, went right up there, fixed it with the actual vinyl stuff roof that it is, and gave us the whole roll. It looks kind of like linoleum. And he's like, here, just use the heat gun and you can patch it if you spring another leak. And he goes, but I inspected your whole entire roof and it looks really good. You guys got a really nice roof up there. It's like, good. And he's like, I have no idea about that hole, that it was like red duct tape. It's super strange. And anyways, and he charged me like $200 or something to fix it. And so we have a nice roof, fixed, no more leaks. And so that was awesome. That bill's not reflected on our maintenance thing, but just, you know, it just seems like we've, you know, been getting nickel and dimed a lot with just, you know, things breaking down. And so when it says that we have $19,000, it's actually less than that. Because of the rules, you know, that I know about come in December. So anyways, that's the part that always makes me nervous on the budget, because, you know, I try and put a healthy amount in our maintenance. But here we are, we're not even 5 months into the fiscal year, and it just seems like, man, I've just been, you know, paying for a lot of stuff. So anyways, but you know, it is what it is. And that's what contingency is for. But anyways, and then, let's see, our part-time temporary, that, you know, we're like on track. We're not going over on that, so that's nice. Anyways, that's about all I have on the expenses. Okay. And then the rest of my report here, I just want to give you a quick little, so we've turned in all of the paperwork for the LGIP, and everything is in process, and they will let me know when they're ready to actually do the transfer, where then we would move all that money in the money market and it would go to the LGIP for Oregon, which is the local government investment pool. And then, you know, we'll close out the money market. Now, the thing that I didn't think about is we're not getting charged a checking account fee at People's Bank. And my guess is that when we get rid of the money market, then they're gonna wanna charge me. So I'm gonna go in there and talk to them about that, because I don't wanna be hit with some $30 or $50 a month checking account fee. Anyways, so
I don't think you will. I've got an account there and they don't charge me anything.
oh, okay.
If they did, we could leave it open on $50 in the one of the lots of free checking accounts all over the place.
Yeah,
Well,
because
we
we're
really
government,
like that
like,
bank, so.
that's, we ended up there because we were getting like charged out of the market, because we're for people, I mean, for residents or normal people, yeah, you can get free checking, but for businesses, they soak it to you.
Yeah, no, I
So,
could pretty much guarantee they're not charging.
I hope not,
They're
'cause they're
really
a really
great.
good bank, but anyways, I just, that was in
Really
my
supporting
mind.
the community by banking it too.
So, and then the other thing I was excited about is we received some grant money. I wrote a grant for SDIS, so Special Districts Insurance Services. That every year they have a safety and security grant, and we upgraded our camera system, you know, got new cameras and a whole new computer screen. Like HD cameras, and I submitted that, and it improves our safety in the building. And so we were able to get half of our money back for that. And so we got a check from them for $2,193. So, yeah, and so then what Tina normally does, like for instance, when we got the youth wage grant this summer, then that money goes right back into payroll. Cause it's, you know, it's for that, and then this will basically go right back into that capital expense. So, you know, last month it'll say we spent this much, and then after she, you know, adds that, then it'll be less. The bill. So that was nice, and then of course, we're waiting on the Oregon Energy Trust for possible grant, for the boiler thing. And then the roof leak, I talked about that, so that's all I had for my director's report.
Okay,
Yeah, question, or, an idea what about if you guys are all okay with it?
Yep.
You mentioned the camera system, and I brought this up in our other meeting. Based on some other people's comments, I thought it'd be really cool if we had a camera point in any pool that was publicly available, so you can log in, see how busy things were at any given time. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there, but I was a good idea.
well, I know sometimes when I go to masters competitions, they do have just the camera on the pool. So, like when I was in California swimming, my family back here in Oregon, I mean, you couldn't really tell who was who, but since they had the heat sheet and they knew, then they were able to say, oh, yeah,
That's cool.
Does the high school still have a camera?
Yeah, but it is only gets turned on for high school meets,
So you can watch high school swimming.
theoretically,
High school swimming.
if you had the link.
you on it 24/7, so at any time you can just log in, like on our website, click on camera and it'll show the pool live.
That's why.
That could be beneficial for you too, if something happened in the night. You could log in and check
Well,
to
I mean,
see.
we do that, we can do that,
So I have remote access to that.
Yeah.
Correct system.
but, I mean, just, I mean, well, it is an interesting idea, but, I mean, I can think of a
We
million
can
objections,
bring it up later. I just thought it was a cool idea, someone like that.
kind of like a,
Yeah. I mean, you gotta look at the public, that, and there are people who.
well, no, that's the number one objection, is there's plenty of women that probably.
There are
don't
so many people
want to.
who would
And-
object to that.
This is great to talk about, but
Yeah.
I'd like to get on, because we have an executive meeting to go into,
Okay,
so, please.
so 70.0 remarks from the directors. I don't have anything to say at this time.
My remark is actually a question. I'm looking for the fundraiser committee stuff. I'm looking for some, connection to the swim team. If anybody knows the president, not team, but club, you know.
I swim on the club.
You swim
I
on.
am-
The club team.
Oh,
Mark is the
Well-
perfect person for you to talk
Be
to,
the
right there.
liaison.
You know,
well, so when we were doing these events, you could talk to them, or I will, or something. I just don't know when the club meets or talk.
okay, right now,
Yeah.
since high school season, we're swimming in the pool every Monday to Friday, 5 to 6 p.m.
Okay.
You know, we just did fundraiser last week, yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, and I have direct connection with the coach, but as far as the coach and parents, that's a different group of people.
That's, yeah. Well, you're a connect, that's the thread I'm looking for,
Yes.
so thank you very much.
Yeah, we do have a swimming.
And I do have a comment. I came to the swimming Saturday. What do we have, 6 teams here? The first time I've ever been to an invitational here. Mark was our starter, very professional. And I don't know who was Carmen announcing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so, yeah, so it was cool and it went like clockwork, I thought.
Yeah, we did good.
It's really good.
Our boys beat everybody.
I know, yeah.
Uh,
Did they come in first?
The boys team,
Wow.
which was a surprise. I mean. I didn't realize, we did really well, my whole entire team did really well, but I had no idea that we were gonna
Right, it was cool.
That's neat.
It was really cool. So
win.
that's
And
what
we
I
had
had
about
about
hundred and 62 swimmers. So it was the perfect size meet, it was
It was
not,
mayhem.
well.
But very organized.
That crowded.
No, it was
It was
good. It
perfect.
reminded me of my freshman and sophomore year, 77, 78, when we had districts here. Where we had 200 to 300 swimmers.
Great. Anyway, that's my comment.
Good deal.
And of course I have.
Yes.
No, update on the contract with the school since it's expired.
I reached out and I haven't heard anything. So I will reach out again.
Seems like since it's expired, it's a bigger deal than if it's coming up for renewal.
Based on where we were on the school, it might be a little bit of a challenge.
Well, that and, with the holidays and stuff, and, I mean, the pool, even though they technically own the building, I mean, we are not ever their priority. I mean, and I'm not saying that to be disparaging, it's just the reality, so,
Okay,
but I will reach out
I'm
again.
going to move that we adjourn this meeting in order to go into executive session.
And then we re-adjourn this, then this meeting comes back after we're
comes
finished,
back,
right?
yes.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor, aye.
Now you guys want me to leave, right?
Yes. Get out of here.
Oh.
Go back in.
Sure.
Executive session, this is not.
And the,
It's.
and
it's-
this is private and the cameras are us, or will be.